Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live video. And I'm just out here going to double check to make sure that I am live on my Facebook page, which it looks like I am. Now I'm just pulling up the comments so that I can see when you guys are all hopping in and saying hello. And I appreciate it if you leave me a comment while you're here to let me know that you are live and watching the video. That would be awesome. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to go ahead and comment as well. I'm always happy to have you watching the video whenever it is that works for you. So today we are playing a little bit with the Under My Umbrella stamp set bundle. And I just made kind of what I thought was a fun and bright little card with it. Just because I think we kind of need to make some of these now and then, especially during this crazy time that we are in right now. So just made kind of a fun, bright little card, little rainbow colors for you that I'm going to show you really quickly how I made today. Hey, Patricia, thanks for hopping in. I can see that you're here. So again, this is the card and a couple things that I used on it. The first thing is the Under My Umbrella stamp set bundle, which this is available now from Stampin' Up, and it is in the 2020 January to June 2020 mini catalog, which will be ending here. It's not, we find out the retiring list on April 22nd. So we will know whether this bundle is carrying over. And hey, Rosie, thanks for hopping in. So we'll find out whether this bundle is carrying over or whether the pieces of the bundle, I should say, are carrying over or not on April 22nd. And then the catalog ordering actually ends on June 2nd. So, which it's kind of hard to believe that's really not that far away. Anyway, I use the stamp set bundle, which is obviously includes the stamp set, as well as the punch, which is probably a little easier to see when I flip it upside down because it doesn't have the reflection on it. Hey, Lori, thanks for hopping in. So this is a cute little stamp set and punch, which I love because punches are really generally pretty easy to use. So just wanted to show you that real quickly. So that is basically most of what we used for the card. And then a couple of other things that I used are, the first one was the Beads and Baubles embossing folder, just because I thought they looked like little raindrops. So I thought that would work in the design behind, which hopefully you could see it embossed behind the cards, behind the umbrella. So just have that embossing folder that I used, as well as the Stitch So Sweetly dies. So I used the second of the smallest rectangles here to cut out the sentiment real quickly. So this is a great set of dies. It's currently temporarily turned off for ordering, unfortunately, but it's supposed to be back in stock in about a week or so. So I have my fingers crossed that it will be back in stock sooner rather than later, and y'all will be able to order it again. So well, I'm glad that you like the embossing behind it and like the card. Like I said, it was kind of a fun one to create. So definitely having a good time making some bright and fun things for spring. So, hey, Jean, thanks for hopping in. So one thing really quickly before I get started is I wanted to remind you that, hey, Diane, glad that you're here. Made it on time too. Yay. And I see Karen's here as well. So getting a nice little group of you out here. So we've got the Ornate Garden Suite Facebook event that will be happening on Saturday the 18th. Hey, Rosemary, thanks for coming in. So we are going to be doing an event with our team, sharing some projects that we made with the Ornate Garden product suite, which is a new suite of products from the upcoming 2020 to 2021 annual catalog, and Stampin' Up! Released them a little early, so they're available for purchase now. So definitely some beautiful products, and we'll be showing those off to you a little bit on Saturday. We've got a Facebook page that we are putting together, and I know that a couple of you have asked to join, so hold on, bear with me for a minute while we get the page set up and running. And on Thursday, we are planning to start opening it up for everybody to join in. I just didn't want y'all sitting out there while we were trying to construct the page. That's all. So just wanted to let you know about that. So that is coming up on Saturday the 18th, and it'll be from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time until about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, or evening, I guess, Eastern time. So hope that y'all will be able to join us. Hey, Marilyn, thanks for joining, and Rachel as well. And I see Heather is here too. So glad that you ladies are joining. Ladies and gentlemen, I shouldn't assume everybody's a lady, but everyone's joining today, so to check out the project. All right, so I'm going to set this aside and hopefully not get glue or something yucky all over it. And I've started out with some Pineapple Punch. I thought, there's really nothing brighter in the color collection, I don't think, than Pineapple Punch. So I started with that as my card base, and did a little bit of Designer Series paper from the 2018 to 2020 in color Designer Series paper pack. And it's a 6x6 pack of Designer Series paper, and it's got the really cute gingham, which I don't know why I love the gingham print. I think it goes behind almost everything. You can use it for almost every occasion. Anything happy, spring, summer, winter, fall, no matter what, I like it. and I love that we have it in almost every single color now. So using a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue to adhere that to the front of a Pineapple Punch card base. The card base is cut to 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. So all the details will be out on my blog post tomorrow, so you can definitely check that out. I'll link it up in the comments, so you'll be able to find it tomorrow once the blog post goes live. So it definitely is the brightest sea, and I'm going to turn you into a person who likes yellow yet, Karen. I know I will. So I have a lot harder time with oranges. For whatever reason, oranges are not my favorite colors, but I do love yellow. So all right, so we've got that done. And then the next thing I did is I went ahead and did this ahead of time. I embossed the pool party, a panel of pool party cardstock. Too many of those PPPs right in a row. So, and this is cut to 3 by 5.5. And again, it's been embossed with the Beads and Baubles embossing folder. And I'm going to adhere it to a piece of Whisper White cardstock that is cut to 3 1/8 by 5.5. And then we're going to adhere that right to the card front. I'm using a little bit of liquid glue on it. Usually I use snail to adhere a lot of my layers together, but since this one's a little bit bumpy, I just want to make sure that it stays really well, and snail sometimes doesn't hold on the embossed pieces as well as the liquid glue does. So, and the other thing is, as you probably just saw, I dropped that down on the, the piece of cardstock, a little crookedy crazy, so it gives me a minute also to straighten things out before it is adhered down forever. So again, just going to take a little bit of that liquid glue and adhere this piece, the layer piece, to the card front. And you know what, I probably should line this up a little bit straight so that hopefully I can get it somewhat close to centered. Although I don't know that it necessarily matters in this particular card. I don't think it has to be perfectly centered, but it does help when you line it up on your grid paper to sort of help get things straight across. At least I feel like it does. So, hey, Catherine, I'm glad that you're here and that you made it on time. So, and Catherine's saying hi to Mary. So I'm not entirely sure which Mary or where Mary is, but hopefully I haven't missed her hopping on when I've been busy chattering and gluing. So I'm going to set that aside for a second. And I went ahead and pre-stamped some things with the Under My Umbrella stamp set. And I just stamped these in Whisper White cardstock in Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I'm going to do a little bit of color. And hey, Nancy, thanks for hopping in. And oh, there's Mary. Okay, so I see that you're here. All right. So I'm going to start doing a little bit of coloring, and I did these, tried to get them in rainbow order, and I'm going to try to do them in the right order here as I color across. So I've got the light Poppy Parade Stampin' Blends that I'm starting with, and just going to put down the color on, hopefully not go too far outside the lines with it. Put light Poppy Parade down is the base color here on one of the little panels of the umbrella, and then I'm going to come back in with the dark Poppy Parade Stampin' Blends and just add a little bit of dark up towards the top. And then I ran it also down kind of along where the seams were at on the umbrella pieces, and then come back in with the light and just sort of blend over the lines and hopefully blend them together a little bit so that you don't see a harsh line in it. And if you do see too much of what you think is a line, you can always do like I just did there and just sort of flick the color down with the lighter marker, and that seems to blend it together a little bit better. The next color that I used is some Mango Melody, and again, it's the light and the dark of Mango Melody Stampin' Blends markers. And I'm going to color the center panel. Again, I tend to start with my light one. You can use whatever color you prefer to start with. Some people like to put the dark on first and then add the light and blend it all at once. I find it easier to do the light first and then add in the dark and then go back with the light, just because it's a little harder to take the color away than it is to add it. You can always put a little more color on fairly easily, but it's a little harder. Not that you can't take it off, but it's a little harder to take it off. You can use a color lifter to kind of pick up some of the color and sort of move it back or make it a little lighter if you need to, if you've overcolored something. But I find it easier not to do that. Just because the color lifter doesn't always do exactly what I want it to do, because I'm not a coloring expert by any stretch. So then I've got the Pineapple Punch blends are my next color that I'm using here. I'm just going to do the same thing again, where I'm taking the light and putting the color down first. And as I'm coloring here with the Pineapple Punch, I just wanted to remind you that the in colors, the 2018 to 2020, which is Pineapple Punch, Grapefruit Grove, Blueberry Bushel, Call Me Clover, and Lovely Lipstick, are all probably, now I can't say for sure until we see the catalog, because sometimes they do color changes and add some of the in colors into our regular color family, but those colors are all likely going to be retiring here at the end of the catalog. So if these are colors that you love, be sure you're getting stocked up on your ink refills and your markers and your Stampin' blends and your cardstock, so that you'll be able to have those colors around to use them for a while, even after they retire. So the next color up that I'm using here is Granny Apple Green. And again, I put the light color down first and just going to add a little bit of the dark Granny Apple Green Stampin' blends to color the top, and then blend the two together. Thanks, Catherine. I'm glad that you like the colors. It was kind of fun. Like I said, there were a couple of rainbow color challenges this week, and so that's kind of where the color inspiration came from. I just wanted something bright and fun, and we had kind of a dreary few days here where we got some rain and it wasn't quite as nice outside. So today the sun is shining again, but kind of some yucky weather, and I know that down south they had some bad storms down there, so hopefully everybody stayed safe through all that mess. But up here we just kind of had, like I said, it was rainy and cold and sleety and snowy a little bit, and then and then the sun would shine, and then it would get rainy and cold and sleety and yucky. And so the next color up that I'm using is the light and dark Bermuda Bay Stampin' Blends markers. And again, just doing the same thing, where I put the light down first and then come back in with the dark and add a few little shadows around. Got your refills because many of those colors are your favorites. Yeah, see, now there are a couple of them that I love, and Pineapple Punch, as much as I know there are some of you that are not yellow fans that are watching today, but that is one color that I will sadly miss if that one retires. And I love Grapefruit Grove. Not that I don't necessarily love the other colors. I do love them, just not as much as those two. So those will be the two that I will definitely miss the most if those colors actually retire. So I'm hoping that we'll at least keep Pineapple Punch around, because I feel like we need a nice bright yellow like this one in our color collection, but I don't always get to pick, and they don't ever ask me what I want. So not that, I think my opinion is important, but clearly Stampin' Up! Doesn't always. So, all right, the last color that I'm using on here is a little bit of Highland Heather. And again, this is the light and dark that I'm using for the combo, the Stampin' Blends combo pack markers. And just coming back in here and doing a little bit of blending together. All right, so Karen says she likes Grapefruit Grove too, so the one that you won't miss is Call Me Clover. I'm not sure why, I just didn't love that color. I mean, it's a nice bright green, and you would think that I would like that, because generally I tend to like the brighter colors, but I don't know, that just wasn't one that I could really ever fall in love with. So it was a nice color, just not my favorite. We have a lot of good greens though, so for instance, the Granny Apple Green is a favorite of mine. So so I'm doing a little bit of punching here with the Umbrella Builder Punch, and I'm going to need to trim this down, I think, a little bit to fit it through the punch the second time. And go ahead and put this in here. And I think I've showed you my Post-it note trick with this, which I'll explain it in a second. If you end up with a little piece of paper that is small, say you're trying to, I don't know, punch something that's over here on the side, and you've got a little tiny piece of paper that you have it stamped on, you can, oops, I got it right off the screen, goodness. So you can take a Post-it note and attach it to the corner of your piece of cardstock, and then you can take your Post-it note, and that makes it much, much easier to maneuver it around inside your punch. So that is one tip that is really handy when you've got these builder type punches and the images in it aren't always straight like you think they should be. So it's a huge, huge help if you can get some little Post-it notes and keep those around your stamping area. It will help you quite a bit. So, all right. Oh, Catherine says she didn't use green, the Call Me Clover, except for very much at Christmas. Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, I don't know why I didn't fall in love with that color as much as normal. So, but yes, see, Granny Apple Green to me that's one of my favorite colors ever, that Stampin' Up! His head. But again, I tend to like the brighter ones. So, the hot pinks, I love Flirty Flamingo, and I love the Pineapple Punch, and, those types of colors generally are the ones that I tend to like. Although I like the subtles too. So I don't know, I guess I'm sort of mixed on that. But anyway, all right. So using a couple little Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm just going to adhere on. Mary says she's used the Post-it note many times. It's a good little trick to know about. So definitely a good one to have in your little Stampin', arsenal is probably not the right word, but your Stampin' tricks and maybe Stampin' tricks, we'll just call it that. So I'm going to adhere on the umbrella tops that I've just punched with a couple Stampin' Dimensionals. And I think I must have stuck them down a little bit differently. Maybe on this one, I think we'll just leave it. I'm going to have them a little closer together on this one than I did on my original project. All right, so then I've got the umbrella handles. I was going to call them umbrella sticks, and I knew that wasn't the right word, so umbrella handles that I have already punched out and stamped. And I'm just going to take a little bit of liquid glue and then tuck them. Hopefully I don't have my big hands in the way, but tuck them right up under the center of the umbrella that I've just stuck down here. Try not to get glue all over my fingers, which I usually do when I use liquid glue on little pieces, but it's one of those things. You either get too much or too little, and trying to get it just right is like Goldilocks, I guess. So, all right, let me get this turned here a little bit so I can get it underneath the umbrella. Maybe. There we go. All right, just adhering that down here, holding it for a second, especially since it's on top of an embossed piece. I just want to make sure that it's stuck down well and isn't going to go flying somewhere later on. All right, so we've got most of the card front done. I used a little bit of the Whisper White solid baker's twine and just wrapped it twice around the card front, and then tied a little bow with it, which hopefully I'll be able to do on screen because, bows are always easy for me until I get in front of you guys, and then it's like I have 12 thumbs and can't figure out how to tie a bow for anything. So I will give it a shot here. One thing that I do find that is a little bit easier when I'm using the thinner twines and that type of thing is I usually tie a knot in it first, and then I can work on the bow part of it and make that part look pretty. So, because it's a little thinner material, the knot in it doesn't leave a big bump like it does if you put a knot in ribbon. It kind of leaves you a big bump under your bow if you try to do that, but it works well with the twines and that sort of thing. So, all right. Well, I'm glad that you like it. So, glad that you like the colors on it. Like I said, I just wanted something that was kind of bright and fun because it was kind of a dreary day when I was making it. And, just figured that we could all use a little smile and a little sunshine definitely right now. So with all the craziness going on. All right, so we've got the basics of the card done here. Let me set these aside. The next thing that I'm going to do is I went ahead and pre-cut this again with one of the Stitched So Sweetly dies. It was the second of the rectangles here, second smallest of the rectangles. And just use Whisper White cardstock. And I'm going to do a little stamping with Bermuda Bay ink. And I used the Hello Sunshine Sentiment, which hopefully, well, I guess it won't matter if I stamp it upside down because I can always flip. But I had it turned upside down when I was inking it, and I was afraid I was going to stamp it all crazy. So, all right. Just do a little stamping here. The one nice thing about this stamp set is that it is photopolymer, so you can see through it and see where you're stamping, which makes it definitely easier if you have things pre-cut like that to be able to see where you're stamping. Then I'm going to take a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals, well, the half Stampin' Dimensionals that I've chopped down. Basically, I take my rows of Stampin' Dimensionals and snip them up because they fit, I feel like, a little bit better. So I'm glad that they're making you smile too. I know I kind of went back and forth on the card and what colors I should do, and I finally just decided, you know what, I think we all need a smile and something to be happy about, and hopefully it's a happy card. That was my idea with making it. So let's go ahead and put the sentiment on here, over here next to the bow. And we'll go ahead and stick that down with Stampin' Dimensionals again. All right, and then I should be able to, hopefully, wiggle the bow just a little bit if I want it closer. There you go. Pull it in here a little bit closer to the sentiment. And then the last thing that I did on the card front was just added a couple of the Happiness Blooms enamel dots, which these have some of the in colors in them. They're a great little embellishment because they're small and flat, and they don't really leave a big lump. So if you're going to mail cards, these are perfect for it. The only unfortunate thing is that they've got a couple of the in colors in it that will likely be retiring. So I suspect these are probably going to go at the end of the catalog. So if you don't have them yet, definitely get a pack of those because they're awesome. They're one of my favorite little embellishments. So between that and the glitter dots, I'm not sure which one I like more. So, all right, so we've got our card front done. The only thing we have left is a little stamping on the inside. And I've got the sentiment that says, no matter the weather, we're friends forever. And I'm going to stamp that in, hey Judy, thanks for hopping in. I see Myrtle's here. So yep, thanks for leaving a comment, and thanks Nancy, I appreciate it. So I'm going to do a little bit of stamping in Bermuda Bay ink, and I'm going to try to get this lined up so that it will be straight and fairly centered. Stamp that right down. Yep, that worked out all right, I think. And then the next thing I'm going to do is a little stamping with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink and the little rain boots, which they're a cute little set of boots in the Under My Umbrella stamp set. Going to stamp those here right next to the sentiment. All right, so I'll do that just a second while I put everything away to hopefully dry for a minute before I get busy coloring. And then I pulled out the Light and Dark Pineapple Punch Stampin' Blends markers and did some very basic coloring on these boots. I did not attempt to do any shading or anything fancy. I just used the light blends to color the inside of the boot, or the main part of the boot, and then went back in with the dark to color the soles and the top of the boot. So again, no fancy coloring, no fancy shading, just some basic putting the color on it. So how did I decide the color choices? Well, basically I wanted the rainbow look. So that was sort of it. I knew I wanted it to be bright, and actually Pineapple Punch was the first color that I pulled off of my little ink chart, or my little pile of inks over here. So Pineapple Punch was my first one. And then I just kind of went from there and pulled out the brightest colors that I could find in the rainbow. Other than Gorgeous Grape might have been my choice, but I'm afraid Gorgeous Grape actually would have been too dark. If we had a blends marker, I think it would have been too dark on that. So that was why I went with the Highland Heather instead. But the rest of them, basically, it was the brightest color that I could find in that color family to add to it. So that was kind of how I picked the colors, is just went right in rainbow order and pulled out a red and pulled out an orange and a yellow and a green and a blue and a purple, and that was it. So do a little crease of the bone folder here on it, and as you can see, I did a little different layout with the umbrellas on this one. Got them a little closer together on my card that we made today. This is the card that I made ahead of time with my little sample card. So hopefully you enjoyed the project, and hopefully you have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I will plan to hop on YouTube Live on Friday. And then we have our Facebook event on Saturday, so I will be presenting live again. So you guys are going to get tired of hearing from me probably. So I'll be presenting live on Saturday as well on our Facebook page. And then also plan to be back here on Tuesday for another Facebook Live. So thanks so much for joining me today. Hopefully you all have a great rest of your afternoon, and we will see you all soon. Thanks again.